Hello friends, welcome to Book Bites. Today we'll talk about book Dopamine Detox, written by Sepah. Dopamine Detox, a short guide to remove distractions and get your brain to focus by Sepah. Is a practical guide designed to help individuals regain control over their lives by understanding and managing their relationship with dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in our brain's reward system. The book emphasizes how modern society, filled with distractions, has made it increasingly difficult for people to focus, leading to issues like procrastination, addiction to digital devices, and an inability to concentrate on important tasks. The core idea behind a dopamine detox is not to eliminate dopamine entirely, since it is essential for motivation, learning, and emotional regulation, but to reset our overactive response to instant gratification. In the modern age of endless notifications, social media, and entertainment, dopamine levels are constantly being spiked, leading to decreased attention spans and addictive behaviors. Murris's approach to a dopamine detox involves taking intentional breaks from these distractions to recalibrate the brain, enhancing our ability to focus, work, and make decisions that align with our long-term goals. This detox is not about permanently avoiding pleasurable activities. Rather, it's about taking control over impulsive behaviors and creating space for more meaningful and productive habits. The book provides a roadmap to help individuals implement a dopamine detox, re-establish self-control, and develop the mental clarity needed to pursue their personal and professional goals with greater discipline and focus. Murris's approach is highly relevant in today's world, where instant gratification is at an all-time high and distractions often take precedence over long-term success. With the rise of social media, constant messaging, and entertainment consumption, many individuals feel overwhelmed, unproductive, and disconnected from their true priorities. A dopamine detox offers a path forward, helping individuals regain focus, productivity, and a sense of control in an increasingly distracting world. Let's explore the concepts of the book, breaking them down point by point and refining the explanation to ensure clarity and precision. Point 1. Understanding dopamine and its impact on our brain. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a central role in our brain's reward system. Often referred to as the feel-good chemical, dopamine is released when we engage in activities that bring us pleasure, satisfaction, or accomplishment. It's involved in regulating our mood, motivation, and ability to learn. Every time we experience something enjoyable, whether it's eating a favorite food, receiving a compliment, or checking a new notification on our phone, dopamine levels surge in our brain, reinforcing the behavior and making us want to repeat it. However, the issue with dopamine lies in how modern society has engineered constant spikes in dopamine levels. The digital age, with its smartphones, social media, video games, and instant messaging, has created a world where dopamine is triggered repeatedly and unpredictably. This leads to a cycle of instant gratification, where we seek more of these pleasurable experiences, but at the cost of long-term focus and productivity. This behavior, in turn, fosters a sense of dependence on these quick rewards and diminishes our ability to concentrate on tasks that require sustained effort and attention. One of the key aspects of a dopamine detox is understanding how dopamine shapes our behavior and how its excessive stimulation can impair our ability to focus. The book introduces the idea that while dopamine is essential for motivation, when we become addicted to the constant dopamine hits from distractions, it can impair our cognitive functions. The more frequently we engage in activities like checking social media or binge-watching shows, the more dopamine we release, reinforcing the desire for these distractions. The first step in a successful dopamine detox is recognizing how dopamine influences your choices. By becoming more aware of how these dopamine-driven habits shape our lives, we can take proactive steps to reduce their influence. The detox is not about demonizing dopamine or eliminating it, but learning to manage it effectively. By doing so, we can regain control over our attention, productivity, and emotional state, allowing us to focus on the things that truly matter. Point 2. The concept of a dopamine detox. A dopamine detox is the process of temporarily removing or minimizing activities that provide instant gratification and pleasure. The goal is to reset the brain's reward system, reducing the cycle of constantly seeking short-term rewards, and thereby fostering better focus, self-control, and emotional balance. In a world where distractions are ubiquitous, such as social media notifications, video games, and entertainment, a dopamine detox can help individuals reclaim their mental clarity and focus by temporarily stepping away from these distractions. Murris explains that the core principle of a dopamine detox is to avoid activities that are likely to cause instant dopamine spikes. This means putting aside things like checking your phone, watching TV, eating unhealthy snacks, or scrolling through social media. By engaging in these activities, the brain becomes accustomed to regular dopamine bursts, creating a sense of dependence on these activities. As a result, people find it increasingly difficult to focus on less stimulating, but ultimately more rewarding, tasks like reading, studying, or working on long-term goals. During a dopamine detox, activities such as reading, journaling, meditating, and engaging in physical exercise are encouraged. These activities do not provide the same instant gratification as scrolling through social media or watching YouTube videos, but they help to rewire the brain by engaging in deep focus and effort. Maurice emphasizes that the detox is not about completely avoiding pleasure, rather it's about regaining control over how we experience and respond to pleasure. By taking breaks from high-stimulation activities, individuals can create a sense of balance in their lives, improving their ability to prioritize tasks and engage in activities that contribute to long-term goals. Importantly, the detox doesn't have to be extreme. A full detox could mean abstaining from all distractions for a set period like a weekend or a week, but for many, even a short-term reduction in distractions can be transformative. A day or two of minimizing distractions can lead to increased productivity and a renewed sense of control over one's habits. The key takeaway from this point is that a dopamine detox isn't about deprivation. It's about relearning how to find joy and satisfaction in meaningful, effortful activities instead of relying on quick, fleeting pleasures. Point 3. The science behind dopamine and its role in reward and motivation. To truly understand the effectiveness of a dopamine detox, it's essential to grasp the science behind dopamine and how it works in our brains. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, meaning it's a chemical messenger that transmits signals in the brain. It is heavily involved in the reward system, influencing our feelings of pleasure, motivation, and even learning. Dopamine is released when we engage in pleasurable activities, such as eating a delicious meal, receiving praise, or even looking at something that interests us. This release makes us feel good, reinforcing the behavior that triggered it. The more we experience these positive sensations, the more likely we are to repeat the behavior. This is the fundamental principle of the reward system in our brain, reinforcement through pleasure. However, modern life has exponentially increased the number of dopamine-triggering stimuli. Every notification we receive on our phones, every like on social media, and every new episode of a binge-worthy show provides an instant rush of dopamine. Over time, our brains become conditioned to crave these constant bursts of pleasure, which is where the problem lies. Excessive stimulation leads to a situation where our brains are constantly searching for the next dopamine hit, often at the expense of tasks that require sustained effort, concentration, and focus. This becomes especially problematic for individuals who struggle with productivity or staying focused on long-term goals. In the context of a dopamine detox, the goal is to interrupt this cycle of constant dopamine-driven behavior. By taking breaks from these highly stimulating activities, we allow the brain to reset its reward system. The idea is that by temporarily avoiding activities that give instant gratification, we can restore the brain's ability to find satisfaction in less stimulating but more fulfilling activities. Dopamine's role is not inherently negative, it is essential for motivation and positive reinforcement. However, in our overstimulated world, it's important to understand how to manage dopamine's influence. This understanding can help individuals create a healthier relationship with instant gratification and better regulate their ability to focus and achieve long-term goals. Point 4. Identifying high dopamine activities and their impact on mental clarity. One of the most crucial steps in a successful dopamine detox is learning how to identify high dopamine activities. These are the behaviors that provide immediate pleasure and intense stimulation, often without much effort. While they may seem harmless in small doses, engaging in them too frequently can dull our mental clarity, reduce motivation, and increase distractibility. Some common high dopamine activities include scrolling endlessly through social media platforms like Instagram or TikTok, watching YouTube videos or binge-watching TV shows, consuming junk food or sugary snacks, playing video games for extended periods, checking notifications constantly, engaging in compulsive online shopping or gambling. These behaviors create a feedback loop where your brain learns to crave quick rewards, eventually making it harder to enjoy or even attempt activities that require effort, patience, or long-term focus, like reading, studying, or working on a project. Over time, the brain begins to associate boredom or quiet time with discomfort, and the only way to feel normal becomes chasing another dopamine hit. This is why many people report feeling mentally foggy or anxious even when they aren't doing anything particularly stressful. They've trained their brains to function only in high-stimulation environments. The impact on mental clarity is significant. Constant exposure to high dopamine activities shortens attention span, makes it difficult to focus on meaningful tasks, reduces your threshold for boredom, making calm moments feel unbearable, triggers anxiety when you're not engaged in something stimulating. By recognizing these high dopamine habits, you can begin to make conscious choices about which ones are adding value to your life and which are just distractions. A dopamine detox encourages you to step back and evaluate your digital and behavioral habits, helping you regain control over your attention and mental well-being. It's not about eliminating fun or entertainment forever. Instead, it's about becoming mindful of how these activities impact your brain, allowing you to reintroduce them in a way that's balanced and intentional. Once you do this, you start to regain mental clarity and improve your ability to focus, make decisions, and enjoy the present moment. Point 5. The role of boredom and discomfort in personal growth. In the world of instant gratification, boredom is often seen as a negative emotion, something to avoid at all costs. But in dopamine detox, boredom and discomfort are not enemies. They are powerful allies in the process of personal growth and mental discipline. This point emphasizes that learning to sit with boredom is essential for building resilience, creativity, and focus. When we constantly stimulate our brains with notifications, entertainment, and digital interactions, we train ourselves to fear silence. Our mind begins to associate inactivity with anxiety or a feeling of emptiness. But boredom, when embraced consciously, becomes a gateway to deeper thought. It is during these quiet moments that our brain begins to process information, connect ideas, and reflect. These mental processes are essential for problem solving, long-term planning, and emotional insight. Discomfort similarly plays a vital role. Whether it's the discomfort of not checking your phone for an hour, resisting a craving for junk food, or working on a task that requires deep effort, each of these experiences stretches your mental capacity. By learning to tolerate discomfort, you gradually increase your ability to stay focused, control impulses, and stay committed to long-term goals. Dopamine detox encourages intentional exposure to boredom and low-stimulation environments as a way to reset your brain's reward system. This doesn't mean forcing yourself to suffer, but rather allowing natural moments of stillness and quiet to arise throughout your day. Some ways to practice this include sitting quietly without a phone or distractions for 10-15 minutes, taking a walk without listening to music or podcasts, eating a meal without watching TV or scrolling your phone, journaling your thoughts during a moment of mental restlessness. Over time, these practices train your brain to find value in simplicity. You begin to appreciate slow-paced activities like reading, meditating, or even doing nothing. This can lead to increased creativity because your mind has space to wander and explore. It also improves your ability to manage stress because you no longer feel a compulsive need to escape discomfort. Ultimately, this point highlights that growth happens not in the moments of dopamine-fueled pleasure, but in the quieter, more challenging moments when we resist the urge to escape and choose to engage with life as it is. By embracing boredom and discomfort, you build a stronger, more focused, and more present version of yourself. Point 6. Building discipline through reduced stimulation. One of the core themes of dopamine detox is that reducing excessive stimulation is not just about avoiding distractions, it's about building the foundation of discipline. Discipline is not a character trait you're born with, it's a muscle you develop. And just like physical muscles, it grows stronger through repeated effort and conscious practice. This point explores how dopamine detox helps in cultivating self-control and inner strength by managing your environment and daily habits. In today's overstimulated world, we're constantly bombarded with instant pleasures, social media likes, fast food, video games, online shopping. These high dopamine activities offer quick rewards, making everything else feel dull or difficult by comparison. When your brain gets used to constant pleasure, it becomes hard to focus on tasks that require effort but offer delayed gratification, such as studying, exercising, or working on long-term goals. This leads to a weakened sense of discipline. A dopamine detox involves deliberately removing or reducing these high-stimulation activities, even for a short period. This helps your brain recalibrate and regain sensitivity to simpler, more meaningful rewards. When you're no longer dependent on constant stimulation, your mind begins to settle. You become better at sitting with discomfort, and your ability to delay gratification improves. For example, if you're used to checking your phone every 5 minutes, your attention span is constantly broken. But if you train yourself to resist that urge, even for 30 minutes, you're exercising discipline. Over time, this small act of resistance strengthens your willpower. The same applies to resisting junk food, procrastination, or emotional reactions. Each time you say no to a temptation, you build mental toughness. Dopamine detox also emphasizes the power of structured routines. By planning your day with purpose and sticking to it, you avoid decision fatigue and reduce the risk of falling into high-stimulation traps. Simple habits like waking up at the same time, limiting screen time, or having a fixed time for creative or focused work create a sense of order. This structure allows your brain to operate efficiently without craving unnecessary distractions. In essence, reduced stimulation creates the perfect environment to train your discipline muscle. It's not about denying pleasure forever, but about restoring balance. Once you've reset your brain through detox, you can reintroduce activities mindfully, enjoying them in moderation, rather than being controlled by them. Through consistent practice, you become someone who is not ruled by impulses, but guided by purpose. That's the true strength of discipline, the freedom to choose what serves you best. Point 7. Reclaiming your focus and attention. In the digital age, focus is a superpower, yet it's one of the first casualties of a hyper-stimulated lifestyle. In Dopamine Detox, one of the most important concepts discussed is the ability to reclaim your attention by removing constant distractions and retraining the mind to concentrate on one thing at a time. When your brain is no longer hijacked by instant gratification, you gain clarity, presence, and a sharper sense of purpose. Most people today find it hard to focus for even a few minutes without reaching for their phone or switching tasks. This happens because the brain becomes conditioned to seek novelty, a new notification, a new video, a new piece of content, creating a loop of instant rewards. Over time, this makes deep focus feel uncomfortable or even boring. The book explains that this fractured attention is not a flaw in the person, but a result of repeated exposure to high dopamine activities. Through the practice of dopamine detox, we remove or minimize these high-reward distractions like social media, video games, junk food, and mindless browsing. As a result, the mind slowly starts to find satisfaction in simpler tasks. Activities like reading, journaling, walking, or working on a project begin to feel engaging again. This is because the brain is recalibrated to value sustained effort over fleeting stimulation. A key part of reclaiming attention is also learning to tolerate boredom. The book emphasizes that boredom is not something to be feared, it's a signal that your brain is resetting. Instead of rushing to eliminate boredom with entertainment, you can sit with it, reflect, and let your mind wander creatively. This is where breakthrough thoughts and creativity often emerge. Many great thinkers and creators have credited boredom and quiet time as essential to their process. The detox process also encourages practices that naturally enhance attention, such as mindfulness, meditation, and time blocking. These habits strengthen the brain's ability to stay present and reduce the temptation to constantly switch tasks. The more often you practice sustained attention, the more natural it becomes to enter a flow state, a condition where you are fully immersed in a task and perform at your best. Ultimately, this point teaches that focus is not just about working harder, it's about clearing the mental clutter and creating a space where your best thinking can happen. Reclaiming your attention means you're no longer pulled in 1,000 directions. You're intentional, calm, and in control of where your energy goes. And in a world full of noise, that's an incredible advantage. Point 8. Developing self-control through mindful discipline. One of the central lessons in Dopamine Detox is the idea that self-control is a muscle, and like any muscle, it can be trained and strengthened over time. The book argues that the key to lasting change doesn't come from sheer willpower, which is often unreliable, but from building a life of mindful discipline where your actions align with your long-term values, not just short-term pleasures. Modern life makes self-control extremely difficult. We are constantly surrounded by temptations designed to hijack our attention and trigger our dopamine system. Fast food, social media, streaming platforms, and digital notifications all offer instant gratification with minimal effort. This environment makes it easy to form bad habits and incredibly hard to stick to meaningful routines. When people fail to maintain self-control, they often blame themselves, not realizing that the deck is stacked against them. The book explains that dopamine detox is a reset mechanism. By voluntarily stepping back from high dopamine activities, you remove the constant craving for instant rewards. This gives you the mental space to pause, reflect, and make conscious decisions. Over time, this process strengthens the neural pathways associated with patience, delayed gratification, and goal-oriented behavior. An important tool introduced in this journey is mindfulness. Mindfulness doesn't mean meditating for hours every day. It means being aware of what you're doing in the moment and why you're doing it. It helps you catch yourself when you're about to engage in an impulsive behavior, like grabbing your phone out of boredom or stress. Instead of reacting automatically, you create a pause between stimulus and response. That pause is where self-control lives. The book also encourages setting up systems that support discipline. This includes removing triggers from your environment, like disabling app notifications, creating daily routines, and using techniques like implementation intentions. E.g., if I feel bored, I'll take a walk instead of opening YouTube. These small strategies compound over time, making discipline feel less like a battle and more like a lifestyle. Another aspect covered is the emotional component of self-control. Many people turn to distractions, not because they lack discipline, but because they're trying to escape discomfort, like anxiety, boredom, or fear. The detox process teaches you to sit with these emotions, understand them, and work through them without needing to numb them with entertainment or stimulation. Over time, you'll find that self-control becomes less about fighting urges and more about aligning your daily actions with your deeper goals. Whether it's pursuing a career, improving health, or building relationships, mindful discipline enables you to make choices that are difficult in the moment but deeply rewarding in the long run. Point 9. Designing an environment that supports low dopamine living. A major takeaway from Dopamine Detox is that your environment shapes your behavior far more than willpower ever can. The book explains that the key to successful long-term change is to intentionally design your environment in a way that minimizes high dopamine temptations and encourages low dopamine meaningful activities. This approach helps you avoid the constant internal battle of resisting impulses by making better choices the default option. In today's digital world, we're bombarded with distractions. Every app, notification, or advertisement is engineered to trigger dopamine spikes, keeping us hooked and craving more. The detox process doesn't just involve abstaining from these triggers temporarily, it's about creating a sustainable lifestyle where your surroundings no longer pull you into endless loops of short-term gratification. This involves both your physical space and your digital landscape. To build an environment that supports low dopamine living, the book suggests removing or limiting access to high-stimulation tools. This includes uninstalling addictive apps, keeping your phone out of reach during focused work, or even using grayscale mode to make your screen less appealing. Simple changes like putting your TV remote out of sight or keeping junk food out of your kitchen can make a huge difference over time. Equally important is filling your environment with low dopamine, high reward alternatives. This might include books, musical instruments, fitness equipment, or art supplies, anything that fosters creativity, focus, or movement. These activities don't give you instant gratification like a dopamine spike from scrolling TikTok, but they lead to deep satisfaction and long-term joy. Another strategy the book recommends is using friction to your advantage. Make bad habits harder and good habits easier. For example, use website blockers during work hours, place your phone in another room while studying, or schedule time to spend in nature or with family environments naturally low in digital stimulation. The more you structure your surroundings for success, the less you have to rely on willpower. Social environment matters too. The people you spend time with influence your behavior more than you think. Surrounding yourself with others who value focus, personal growth, or creativity creates positive peer pressure that reinforces your goals. On the flip side, spending time with people who are glued to their devices or chase shallow pleasures makes it much harder to stay on track. The book emphasizes that environmental design isn't about restriction, it's about freedom through intentionality. You're not depriving yourself of joy, you're freeing your brain from chaos so you can enjoy real fulfillment. This lifestyle becomes easier the more you practice it. Eventually, your environment will stop tempting you toward short-term pleasure and start guiding you toward long-term growth. Point 10. Creating a long-term strategy for sustained balance. The final concept in Dopamine Detox centers around creating a sustainable lifestyle, one that balances short-term pleasures with long-term fulfillment. While the detox process begins as a focused effort to reset your brain's dopamine response, the real value lies in how you continue to manage your relationship with stimulation, choices, and inner satisfaction well beyond the initial detox period. The book explains that dopamine is not the enemy. It's a vital neurotransmitter that helps us stay motivated, pursue goals, and experience joy. The problem arises when our relationship with dopamine becomes unbalanced, when we constantly seek it through low-effort, high-reward behaviors like scrolling, gaming, binge eating, or mindless entertainment. The solution isn't to eliminate dopamine-producing activities entirely, but to become intentional about when and how we engage with them. Creating a long-term strategy starts with understanding your personal triggers. Which situations, emotions, or times of day lead you toward unhealthy habits? Self-awareness is key. Once you identify your patterns, you can design routines and systems that steer you toward better alternatives. For example, if you scroll social media out of boredom at night, replace that time with reading or journaling. These might not feel as stimulating initially, but over time, they rewire your brain for deeper satisfaction. Another critical element is scheduling high dopamine activities intentionally, rather than reacting to urges. The book encourages readers to set specific times for entertainment or pleasure-based rewards like watching a movie on Friday night, enjoying a dessert on the weekend, or gaming for an hour after finishing important tasks. This helps the brain relearn how to enjoy these experiences in moderation without slipping into compulsive behavior. A strong long-term strategy also includes redefining productivity and success. Many people chase achievements hoping they'll lead to happiness, only to find themselves burned out and emotionally drained. The detox encourages shifting the focus to meaningful progress, valuing growth, self-respect, and healthy habits over external validation. Doing work you care about, cultivating strong relationships, and taking care of your body and mind should be central to your definition of success. Moreover, Dopamine Detox emphasizes the need for routine self-reflection. As your life evolves, so will your triggers and temptations. Regular check-ins help you course-correct, recommit to your values, and adjust your strategy. Whether it's through journaling, meditation, or quiet contemplation, giving yourself space to reflect ensures you stay aligned with what truly matters. Ultimately, the goal is to live a life where dopamine becomes a tool, not a trap. By balancing instant gratification with long-term purpose, you can train your brain to seek joy in growth, presence, and meaningful action. The detox is just the starting point. Real transformation lies in the choices you make every day. Conclusion. Dopamine detox is not just about avoiding distractions or giving up pleasures, it's about regaining control over your mind and aligning your habits with your values. The book reveals how modern life has hijacked our brain's natural reward system, making us addicted to constant stimulation. Whether it's social media, video games, processed food, or other quick dopamine hits, we often chase pleasure in ways that lead to dissatisfaction, anxiety, and poor focus. The detox process teaches us to pause, observe, and reset. It reminds us that boredom is not an enemy, but an invitation to reconnect with ourselves. By removing compulsive habits even temporarily, we learn to tolerate discomfort, regain mental clarity, and create space for deeper, more fulfilling activities like reading, exercising, creative pursuits, or having meaningful conversations. These become the building blocks of a more intentional, purpose-driven life. The most powerful message of the book is that we don't need to depend on external stimulation for happiness. Instead, we can find joy in progress, discipline, presence, and connection. The detox is a method for shifting the balance from reacting to life to consciously designing it. When we reduce mindless behaviors and replace them with mindful choices, our brain chemistry adapts. Over time, our baseline for happiness and motivation recalibrates. But dopamine detox also emphasizes that this is not a one-time fix. Life will always present new temptations, distractions, and emotional challenges. The key lies in developing a lifelong habit of self-awareness, restraint, and reflection. When we become aware of how our actions affect our mind and emotions, we reclaim the power to change. In the end, this book is a guide to inner freedom. It offers a practical, science-backed path to mental clarity and emotional resilience in an overstimulated world. By learning to live with intention, not impulse, we become capable of building lives that are not only productive but truly meaningful.